Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut this off shoulder top with an asymmetric hemline. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So here is my pattern paper, and I've gone ahead to mark my basic measurement, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline. And for the blouse length, I added extra 7 inches after my waistline, so you can add 7 to 10 inches after your waistline. So the next measurement is to go ahead to mark your shoulder divided by 2, and after that I'll come down by 1 inch. From that point, I'm going to go ahead to place my tape, and I'll rule out a line drawing out my shoulder slope. From that point, I'll place my tape and I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, which will serve as my chest line. So that is how to get your chest line measurement or your armhole. I'll go ahead and mark what I have at the shoulder, which is my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll go ahead to place my ruler and draw out a straight line. Here I'll divide what I have here into 2 and I'll mark. From this point I'll come in by ½ inch, then go down to the chest line. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. To draw my armhole curve, I'll place my curve drill touching my bust circumference to the ½ inch and to the upper part of my curve drill. So this is what I have, and next I'll be marking my dart. To mark my dart, I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches. Divided by 2, I have 3.5. That 3.5 inches, I'll mark it all the way to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to rule out a straight line. After I'm done marking this out, after that I'll go ahead to mark my dart intake of 1 inch. I'll mark it at the right side, mark it at the left side, and also mark it there at the waistline. Come down by 4 inches and I'll go ahead to connect. If you're a plus size or you're a big busty, you're going to be using 1.5 inches. So now I'll just go ahead and connect this all the way down. After I'm done connecting my pattern, I'll place my curve drill connecting from the bust down to the under bust. Go ahead to repeat this for the other side of the pattern. After I'm done marking, I'll go up by 2 inches and I will mark a fence line, which will be serving as a guide when I'm working on my pattern. So after ruling out this line, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, place my ruler and reconnect. I'll go ahead and mark my dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. So if you're plus size also, you might be using 1.5 inches or more. It totally depends on the size of your bust. Now I'll just go ahead and connect. The next step is to go ahead to use my marker and I'll reconnect. After that, I'll be inserting my body measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 here and go ahead to measure the dart intake I have there, replace and add my sewing allowance. At the under bust, I'll go ahead to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and I will mark. Then go ahead to measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4 and I'll go ahead to measure the dart intake, replace and I'll add my sewing allowance. Going down to the lower part, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4. I'll mark my sewing allowance because there's no dart that cut across that part. So next I'll just go ahead and use my marker to connect. So after I'm done connecting all my patterns, I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline it. And after that, I'll remark all these measurements on the other side of my pattern before we go ahead to start. So here I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll be reconnecting for the neckline all the way to the upper part. So at this point, instead of taking it to the tip, I came down by ½ inch. Immediately after that 2 inches point we marked at the upper part of the chest line, and this side I went up by ½ inch after that 2 inches line that we marked. So now what you do is you're going to place the tape starting from the front side of your armhole to the back side of your armhole and you will measure. whatever you have, you're going to divide it by 2. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2. I have 4, so I'll extend my armhole area by 4 inches, and after that I went down by 2 inches, which is the length of the sleeve, which is an off shoulder or coat shoulder, and I connected to the armhole. So now I'll just go ahead and use my marker to reconnect. After I'm done reconnecting on the other side of my pattern, I'll just trace out what I have. So that side is visible for me because I'm using a marker, and with the help of the light I can see that. So you can just go ahead also to use your tracing wheel. So after I'm done marking out, this is what I have. Now I'll mark my bust that I'll be using 1.5 inches. That is the difference between my shoulder to waist at the front and my shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist at the front is 17 inches. My shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5 inches. So that is a difference of 1.5 inches. I'll just go ahead and mark, and I will shade it out. So after this, we'll go ahead to work on the scallop hemline of the dress. So by the side here, I'll place my tape and I'll mark 3 inches. And from that point, I'll go ahead and draw out like a curve and come up. So I'll be coming up about 2 inches or 2.5 at that point. So from here, I'll blend in my dart and I will reconnect. Place my tape. I marked 4 inches, but I went ahead to reconnect it to about 5 inches down. So after that, you're still going to reconnect it by the side, and from the side you take it to the lower part of your top length. So just like I said, for your top length, you can use 7 to 10 inches after your waistline. After that, I went ahead to use my marker to outline this, and after that we'll be cutting out this pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you have a question, please also leave it at the comment section. So I'll just go ahead and I will cut out the front pattern, and after I'm done cutting out, this is what I have. And you're going to be blending in your that's why sewing, or you're going to cut it out. So here is my back pattern. I've marked out all my basic measurement just like we did for the front. The only difference is that I have a zipper allowance here, and my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. So after that 15.5 inches, I added that same 7 inches I used for the blouse length in front. And just like I said, you can also use 10 inches. So what I will do here is to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. I'll mark this all the way to the blouse length, and I'll go ahead to use my marker to reconnect this, starting from the upper part to the lower part of my pattern. So after that, I'll be marking 1/2 inch on both sides and come down by 1 inch here, and I will reconnect my dart and also reconnect the other side. So after that, I'll place my tape and mark 4 inches down, and then I'll go ahead to reconnect and also reconnect at the other side. So next is to insert my body measurement. So I'll be marking my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. So all my measurements start immediately after the zipper allowance, like before the zipper allowance in front. So here I'll mark the waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. At the lower part, I marked the hip circumference divided by 4 and added my sewing allowance. So after that, I'll just go ahead and I will reconnect all my pattern. So after I'm done reconnecting, this is what my pattern looks like. So the next step I'll be taking from here is to mark the upper part of my pattern. So we went up by 2 inches from the back, so I'll place my tape, mark that 2 inches here, and I'll extend it just like we have at the front pattern. So coming here, I'll slope it all the way to the back, come down by 1/2 inch after my chest line. So I'll go and extend the sleeve by 4 inches. So you know how we got the 4 inches that we are marking, and go down by 2 inches and I'll draw out my sleeve. So after I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline this. So I'll go ahead to take out the zipper bulge at the back by marking 1/2 inch here, extend it all the way to the lower part and take it up. And after that, we are going to go ahead to outline this before we work on the hemline. So I'll be using one pattern for the back to illustrate both. So I'll come down by 4 inches here, and I'll go ahead to reconnect at this point. So from this part, I'll reconnect it to the other side. So at the front pattern, one side is 7 inches long and the other side is 3 inches. So this is for the part that is 7 inches long. So I'll use this pattern also to cut out the part that is 3 inches long. But first, I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So after I'm done cutting out, we will now go ahead to manipulate it to the part that is 3 inches long by this side. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed also, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. After I'm done cutting out my pattern, this is what I have, and I'll just go ahead to slash this or cut out the dart area of the dress. So now to cut the other side, after you're done cutting with this way, you're also going to cut the other side. Let's just say the other side is this way. All you have to do is just to go to the waistline, measure about 3 inches, and you're going to reconnect it back and create like a little curve at that point. And I'll just go ahead to cut this out. So after cutting this, with this we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and join us in our next pattern illustration.